This is an interview with Mr. and Mrs. James Summerville from Birmingham Civil Rights Institute's Oral History Project. I'm Dr. Horace Huntley. We're at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Today is September 13, 1996. I want to thank both of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and talk with us today about the history of Birmingham and the Civil Rights Movement. Welcome to the Institute today.
Thank you.
I just want to start by asking some questions about the background. Tell me just a bit about your parents. Where were your parents from? Mrs. Summerville, you want to start?
My parents were from Addisville, Alabama. That's in Pickens County. And that's where I grew up until I finished high school and came to Birmingham to go to Miles College. But at first there was a small school that was in the neighborhood, and at our home was where the teachers lived.
The teachers lived at your home?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so as first grade, when I never did go to first grade because they would work with me all the time at home. So when it was time for me to go to first grade, I knew all of the first grade material, so I never went to the first grade. And it was just a happy, lucky thing for me that the teachers lived at our house, like boating and then go to
So you got skipped before you started?
before I started, I was skipped.
Yes.
And so after we went to the fourth grade, about fifth grade, I went to the elementary school, which was called Somerville Industrial High School. And
Somerville Industrial High School?
yeah, no relation with it.
Okay.
But it was Somerville Industrial High School in Addisville.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting because I went, it was high school and the elementary school combined.
Oh.
So I was there with the larger children, but we were on separate acreage, in other words.
So the school is you have a big school, but in fact the elementary school is in one area,
Right.
the high school is in another, but it's on
Exactly.
basically the same area.
Area.
Mr. Somerville, what about you? Your parents from Alabama?
I'm from Utah, Alabama.
Utah,
I
Alabama.
live in Manchester.
In Manchester.
Right. And well, my daddy was, I can say all this way. As I was growing up, I can remember so far that he was farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And he also does construction with. And also, you know, in those times, especially the boys, they had to do most as out in the field where we go to school. I went to Eastman High School.
What kind of crops did you have in the field?
We had cotton, corn, peanuts, sweet potatoes, and called it ribbon cane, six, and sorghum, all that. We did all of that.
But did your folk own the farm?
No, we rented from a man that's named saved them, Mr. Frank Wilder.
Mr. Wilder.
Frank
Wilder. Was Frank Wilder black or white?
He was white. No, he black. Excuse me. He was black.
Okay.
But he was renting a lot of land from a white couple over in Addisville, named Mr. Mabel. And he rented, I don't know exactly how many acres it was, but when he rented out to as a farmer who were around. They about 1, 2, 3, about 4 live on that plantation.
Okay, so he rented from white people,
Right.
and then he then rented it to
Right.
other people that were in the neighborhood.
Right.
Okay.
And now things went along, he bought.
Oh, he eventually would buy the.
Right.
Okay. Did your mother work outside of the home?
She was housemaid,
Okay.
and she never did work, but she would go to the field with us. And
Okay.
we had a very lovely neighborhood.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
5. No, it was 6 of us. I think a couple of them. But that's when
You all probably kept her pretty busy then.
oh yeah.
So I believe she worked a bit then. Huh?
She would, but she knew how to discipline too.
Yes. Right. And Mrs. Somerville, how many were in your family, children?
Well, I was the only child, and later on when I came to Birmingham, my parents adopted a little boy, a baby, and so after that I had a brother.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So you had been an only child
yes.
throughout your teen years almost
Right.
until you got to college.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And
That's right.
so we had the type where I did not stay at home during the week. I would go and board at some of the industrial high school. They had a dormitory, and that's where I would board the whole week and then come home on the weekends. When I was a teenager, I was bored because my parents didn't want me to walk to school. That was before we got buses.
Okay.
And so therefore, I stayed in the dormitory at school and attended school and then come home on the weekends and they would take me back on Sunday afternoons.
Well, how far did children come to the school that boarded? Was it just people from around that particular area?
No, not necessarily, because we had people voting from over in Greene County would come over because they didn't have a elementary school. They had an elementary school, but they didn't have a high school. So the high school students would come over there and board.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. That kind of system. Was it a county school? Do you
Well, I
remember
guess
how-
you would call it a county school because that is the only school area that they have for blacks.
Mhm.
So that was, and the people over in Greene County would come over
Mhm.
to the high school because their high school was so far away.
Okay.
And so they would come over there and board. And after so many years, then they finally got bus transportation
Mhm.
to bring them all the way from Greene County over to Pickens County to go to school.
Mhm.
Then they eventually did build a high school in Greene County because that was my first high school that I taught. And I
so
graduated from.
you came up here from the miles and then
Right.
you eventually went back home to. Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, at what age did you leave Greene County?
Around about 24, yeah. Was that really what happened? I had left home and went to Richmond and I'd taken on my father's farm.
You went to Richmond, Virginia?
Stayed up there about a year and they called and gave me for going on.
Okay.
You know, back then you can get a preferred at the army, so I had finished 12th grade.
Uh-huh.
So I came back and I taken over my daddy's farm and they gave me the leave for that. As soon as I finished the 12th grade at Eatman High School, I had to go and serve it.
Oh, you did go in the service?
Right, for 2 years.
Was this during World War II?
Korea.
The Korean War. Okay. Did you see any action?
No, I didn't see any action, but we got in there. They was just about in Hong Kong and also down in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
They had just about ceased firing, but when we got in at that night, you know, we call them bed check charge. And a plane came and over and they ordered us to hit the dirt. So, and so I was over there just about a year.
Mm-hmm. Well, how was that transition from Greene County, Alabama, to the military and around people from all over the world? What was that like?
Oh, he was enjoying it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's helped me some. Being to stand on my own, we used to say on 2 feet.
Right.
That the experience and also that why, as you know, young people get a whole lot of discipline in the army, and it's different from that. And matter of fact, overseas I saw a lot of things that I don't think I never saw in my life. how people live.
Mhm.
And also that it's helped me to decide out what that I want to be, or what I would try to be, or what I would like to be doing.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm sure that was quite an experience. Then you came back to Greene County. What was that like? Now you've gone off away from home and you've seen the world, and you go back to Greene County. Is Greene County now big enough to hold you?
Well, in a way, it was big enough to hold me, but it wasn't in a way that I could be doing to support myself. I was trying to do sawmill, and I was doing the construction work, and also I used to haul cordwood, and after she came over there, my wife here, that's where I met her. After I got back here, I had to grow up then, I thought I had.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask her about that.
Okay, but I cut off right there.
No. Now, when you met her, you had been to the military already.
Right.
And you had returned home and you were working.
Okay.
And did you all know each other before then?
No, not really. I kind of like remembered him because we played basketball and against their school, and I kind of remembered him just a little from a hat that he used to wear. And I said, that is the same guy. After we had met each other where I was teaching and got to know each other, then I visited his mother's home, and then I saw the hat. I said, I thought that was him.
Associated with that hat.
The hat, right. Associated with a cap we used to wear all the time.
Right. You went away to Miles College and you got your degree and you came back home to teach. How long did you stay was it Pickens County?
Well, yes, I was living in Pickens County, going across to Greene County to teach.
Okay.
And I was there for 2 years. And then I met him and got married. And we came back to Birmingham for a little while. And then after our first daughter was born, I just gave up trying to teach down there because then he was working here and we lived here.
So you moved to Birmingham, and your daughter was born here, your first child?
No, my first child was born in Pickens
Born
County.
in Pickens County.
Right.
Okay. Why did you decide to come to Birmingham?
Because this is where he was working.
Oh, okay.
He was working. He had after he was married. We were married, and then he was working here in Birmingham for the American Cast Iron Pipe Company.
Okay.
And so we after I transferred, traveling backwards and on the weekends going back to
So
work.
you were traveling back and forth.
Right, and then he was traveling back and
He would
forth.
come back to see you.
And so we just said, no, we need to give this up. He told me I need to come home, and we established our home here. And so that's what I did.
What community did you live in when you first came to Birmingham?
We lived in Washington Park, out in on North Birmingham, in 16th Street.
How was that transition from living in a rural area to coming to live in the big city of Birmingham? Was that any difficulties there?
It was a little difficult. You have to learn where you're going, what street you're on, and you have to learn about how life was here. As in the country, you have to explore all around. You can go just about everywhere you go. Because we had a neighbor, we would visit that, but here, it's handled a little bit. But as we grow through together, and also in the city, we begin to stretch out and find a lot of friends.
What school did you teach in when you came here?
I was doing substitute work at Hayes High School, And that's where I, then, for a while after I substituted, then I went to, got a regular job in Shelby County. It was Alabaster High School then. Well, really, it was, before I went to Alabaster, it was in Montevallo, and we called Prentice High School. And I worked there for about 3 or 4 months. Then was transferred to Alabaster High School, and that's where I remained until I retired.
Okay. Is Alabaster High School, is that the same as Thompson?
Yes, it's Thompson Milton today.
Oh, I see.
Yes, it was the black high school there. Then after the integration, Thompson High became the high school and Alabaster became the middle school. Then we had the Thompson Elementary School.
Right.
It was like in a cluster where we had only 3 schools, and regardless of what color you were, that's where you had to go to school. You were busting.
Right.
And so it was really interesting
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't have the situations that you hear about, and because we have been busing a long time before all the confusion became.
It was not an issue. Busing was not an issue
it was not.
prior to the desegregation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What year did you start to work for Pacifico?
April, let's see, April, I think around April the 1st, somewhere, but really, what happened, that when I came up and got a job, I went to Birmingham Tech.
Okay.
And worked up there for a couple of months. And I got laid off, and the crew told me to come on down to Pacifico, and they were hiring me up there.
You remember what year that was?
It was in April of 1956.
Okay. April 56. That's interesting because in June of 56 is when the Alabama Christian movement was actually started, because they outlawed the operation of the NAACP in the state. Had you had any experience with civil rights work prior to coming to Birmingham? Either of you?
No,
No.
not really. No.
At what point did you get involved here, and why?
When the children, the very first thing I think that made us think that we need to get involved is when the children were coming to put in jail.
Right.
They were outside, and it started raining on them, and we went down and saw that, and so we decided, well, we need to get and see, because this is really a shame that all of these children are out here getting wet, and the situation that was going on, and we was hearing about Bull Connor and all of the things that they were doing. So we decided that we need to go and participate in the meetings. So we started going to the meetings which was 6th Avenue Baptist Church. And in the meantime, I was pregnant with my second child, and there were so many people that didn't have an opportunity to sit in a seat. I had to sit on the steps. But we stayed right there and to see what was going on with the movement. And after the speeches and the rah-rah and whatever, then we decided, well, we need to get involved. Because after that, it started with the bombing. And when they came with the bombing, then we found that we were almost afraid to go to our houses, because until they got to look around and check to see if a bomb was on your porch or a bomb was around the scrubbery. And so we decided that we need to get involved because it was frightening.
Now, Mrs. Summerville, you were one of those individuals who actually guarded the community.
Right.
How did that operate?
Well, we had guard on at corner Lincoln, we had guard at corner McCary, guard on Goldwire, guard on Center Street. We had 3 shifts. Had the one doing parked in my driveway and also in the driveway. And we had communication. We didn't have no phone. We always had voice and different things. Communication. I would either take the first shift calls and what shift that I would be on.
Yeah. What shift you were working? So you
Working.
were all alternate.
Right, alternate. And I think that gave us a lot of courage after things were happening, after bombing was down on Center Street. It gave our neighbor a lot of concern. And you know, when you're concerned as a neighbor, you begin to do things that the Lord would have you to do, to be afraid that you know that you are doing something to help someone else, not just yourself.
Right. Now, both of you referred to bombings. What bombings took place on the south side?
Bombing down on 6th Avenue. It was on Center there on 6th Avenue.
Was it a home?
No, it was just a bombing out in the street at first, and then the second bomb went off. The first bomb was to get people out, and the second bomb was the one that had all these nails and all that in it that went off the second time. But it just so happened nobody went out for the first one, and when the second one went off, therefore nobody got hurt because they didn't go out. But the first one was just a bomb to get everybody out. So, and the second one was the one with the nails in it and all this other scrabble and whatever to really hurt somebody. And that was one that was just too close.
Yes. So when you then were guarding, did you ever encounter any outsiders?
No, we just about knew every car that came in our neighborhood. Especially, all we want to do is just go straight. And so we never see no strange cars or anything coming.
How many people were on your shift? It was usually two of you?
It would be three. I mean, we would release each other. As a matter of fact, sometimes it was two. Just two. And then again, just one.
Tell me, how would you describe the mass meeting?
Well, I would say that it was something that would really make you think about what was going on from the things that they said and the things that you knew that really was close to you because of your families and where you were living and how you were living and the situations of which was caused the people to like get, poverty stricken or how they were living and you just wanted to say somebody's helping us here. Now why can't we learn to help ourselves? And this is what they were preaching to us to do for yourself what somebody else cannot do for you. And if you come in and help, then we can all as a group can get more done than just a single person. And so this is what really interested us, is that people working together to cause these things to happen. And this is what they were doing. And it really made them stay with us.
There were individuals who were frightened to get involved because of their jobs.
Right.
I talked with people from Citco who said they couldn't get involved because they were told if anything happened, they would lose their jobs.
Right.
Teachers, obviously many of them refused to get involved because why were you different?
That they were really afraid because a lot of times their livelihood and the support for their families depended on them keeping a job. So therefore, with this in mind, I felt like that they said, well, I have to keep my job and maybe let somebody else do it. But that didn't frighten us. We still are continuously to go to the meetings and do whatever we could do if we had to pass our literature to find it, whatever we needed to do that helped, because to see those little children, that's what really, and said no. And just because we were staying at home, staying out of it, that was not helping. And so therefore, if you would you needed to get involved in order to help others and help yourself too, because things were really frightening.
Were there ever any efforts by people that you worked for to determine whether you were involved or found out that you were involved in any incidents?
No, it was because, matter of fact, we wasn't just in the public eye. I wasn't in the public eye, which at that time was just come from marching down the street. But any other, like getting in jail or even things like that, stayed regular with that. I had to distance myself for some others. But I always would try to give my support. Whatever church was going to be at a meeting or anything, I always try to be there. As a matter of fact, I would always try to get, it was in the crowd where that a lot of things might not could be recognized. And so that's, I think it urges you when you see things not as like that you were likely to be. You know that we couldn't go for different places and we couldn't go sit down and eat in different places. We had to come in this side. So if you want to be somebody in life, be respected in life, you have to help others to improve their lives and also improve your life too.
Right. Did your neighbors participate at the same level that you participated?
Yes, they did.
Most of them?
They really did. Because that's the only way that, you get cooperation with them, with the watching and the security that they were impacting for the neighborhoods, that everybody got involved in, and where we didn't stay out as women to, watch. We would take them donuts and coffee and do whatever we could in order to help them, to give them courage, to let them know that we were with them.
Right. I know that you participated in a demonstration on March with your daughter.
Right, and well, it was two daughters, and we marched because the last bombing is when I was pregnant with my third child, and they bombed Smith and Gaston's motel. I was in the hospital then, and he came over there to see me. I said, "What are you doing out? You should just call, Maria." And I said, "No, you go back home," right, because it was really disturbing that night. And I said, "As soon as you get home, you call me and let me know that you made it home all right," which was close to me because it was at South Howard. I was in South Howard. That's not very far from my home. But I wanted him at home because even the doctor had a pistol in his briefcase because it was just strange and things were just going on, and it was just frightening. But when we marched with the kids to let them know what was really, so they could understand this is practically for you, because maybe the older ones are going and moving on, but a lot of this will help you.
What was the occasion that you were marching on? What was the issue at that time? Was this during the same period you were expecting with your?
You're right. This was during the time that we had to march from the courthouse down to 16th Street Church. All of this was going on then.
Oh, you actually marched from the courthouse?
Yeah, down to 16th
Street
Church, right.
Okay. What was that like? Can you explain that to somebody who had never demonstrated? Somebody's gonna watch this tape who's never demonstrated.
Right.
Can you explain what that experience was like?
Well, it was really rejuvenating to see that you are doing something, maybe to help your race, or help yourself, help all of us to learn to work together. And this is what it took. Then this is what we had to do. And until they get to the street with it, which was, I couldn't ever understand. Why is it that you can't see this before we get to the street in order to bring your attention to it, but look like that's the only way. And we have to get out there and march and demonstrate in order for a person to really know what they're getting into. But you don't, kind of like don't even think about you going to get hurt or something's going to happen to you. You just out there trying to help.
That I still raise this question though, because you all were really putting yourself on the line,
That's true. You never thought of it.
and you never thought
Thought
about
about
the
you could be killed,
consequences.
you could be hurt, you could be fired with no job. You didn't even think of it in that sense. You were just out there trying to help or see what I can do.
Was there other teachers out there
Oh,
that
yes.
you knew that were demonstrating
Right.
at the same time?
True, very true.
There were other people from a zip code.
Yeah,
That's
so they have seen a lot, it's gotten a lot of us, but we never could, we get ourselves in the.
Right. Were you told by by your employer that if you were caught demonstrating that you'd lose your job, or if you were arrested, you would lose your job?
Not exactly for face to face. They would sit out a memo, and also you would hear for some of the leaders that you would hear about that. But it always was encouraged me that here I'm working here, and here I got some children coming. I got 3 children coming along, and make me look at where I came from, and where I couldn't be. I couldn't even get a drink of water at different places. I couldn't even go out, like I mentioned, a restaurant at different places. I couldn't even go in the cafeteria where I ate, unless we had 2 wheel black over here and white on this side. And so that gave you the courage, and also I think prayer helped us together, that give us that courage. And then what really encourage people more, that they want the more opportunity for these different things. That we pay taxes, we do all that, and then have an opportunity to go to these different places. I think that gives us courage too.
Did either of you ever experience any personal encounters with segregation, where you met people face to face, or anything of that nature that had an impact upon your life?
Well, the only thing that, now this might be very simple, but it's shopping. You know, when you go to the store to buy something and you're standing there waiting to purchase whatever, and then a white person walk up and then they stop and turn to wait on. Now that has always irritated me, and so I never did like that, and so a lot of times I would call their attention to it. I think I was here first, because I would let them know that I was not going to put up with it, because this is my money, and I can spend my money someplace else. I don't have to spend it here. But that was one of the things that would always irritate me with them. I walk up, I don't care, you standing there, and they would never ask you, may I help you? And as soon as somebody else comes in, they know. And I would let them know that.
Was some girls ever anything that was sort of irritating you as well?
It was just about the same that way she was saying, and then what really pushed me for a whole lot, that we thought about where we spend our money. We would go back that in provision, new ideas, and then here you sitting like here, standing in the line, and here comes white person right in front of you. And then you know that, well, looking back there and then, at that time, who was buying the most expensive clothes? We have black people. And that woke a whole lot of us up. Because white wasn't buying the expensive clothes back there then. And we looked at it, and now here we keeping those stores open with the money that we spend. And here we don't have an opportunity. Very few blacks were waking it as a collector anything in these stores like that. And we were trying to do those things to open those jobs up for some blacks. And I think that helped encourage us a lot too.
What church were you members of?
Southside CME Church, which was in on the south side at 7th Avenue South. And then we moved because the medical center got our church, and we moved down to Martin Luther King's Drive now. And that's where our church is located.
How active was your church, your minister? at that time?
Well, our minister was active because he was out marching with them or standing out so that, he could be seen. And then, what really bothered me too was that, and they had to get involved because sometime during the service, somebody would say it was a bomb there, and you could see the men running around and checking and seeing, you knew something was wrong. And that they were threatening, by saying that there was a bomb at the church. And everybody got to go and check to see what's going on with the bomb. And then sometimes, but that is the nerve-wrackingest thing you have ever heard of. It was just frightening that you had to then go home and the same thing, got to check your scrubber and all to see if there's a bomb. It's really nerve-wracking. And we have sit in a car waiting for him to check to see if there's a bomb out there so we could go inside.
Did you ever have any calls to your home or anything of that nature, or any of your neighbors have that happen to them?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard them
I haven't.
Right.
say anything.
How old were your children at the time?
Oh, 2 and 3. Well, 2 and 4, and the baby was came 5 years later. So they were very small. They were too small to really know what was going on.
Have you talked with them about that since, about them actually marching?
Yes, they knew, they were kind of like big enough to kind of know just a little of what was going on, because there was so many of the children. It was just always on TV, and they could see, what was going on with the marches and all, and how the children were really being hurt or almost like sacrificed for what was going on. But they were never,
Did you have brothers and sisters here in Birmingham at the time?
No.
Well, what were your families in Greene County and Pickens County saying about Birmingham at that time?
Oh,
About
yeah,
your
right.
involvement?
They really thought that, well, a lot of them kind of felt like, well, you need to get involved, but maybe look and say, well, you're crazy. But they would never, really come out and say that this is how they thought about it. You kind of feel that they didn't really care for you doing these things, and it really bothered our parents because they were worried about us up here and all that.
What did they say? What did your parents say about being in Birmingham, first of all, and
Being
then
the first. Yeah.
Well, for my reason, I think they would say, well, y'all be careful and try to watch out for yourself. And back there then, what they said, well, you take it to the Lord. That's what they would say. You take it to the Lord and you pray. And they always would say that you know who you are. They would say, you know what color you are and all that different things. So it was an experience, I think, for them and also for us. And then they would more joy when they saw the thing had started to open up for here in the city and everywhere. Did
you have the occasion to go to the March on Washington, D.C. in '63?
No, we didn't go.
Did you watch it on TV?
Oh, yes. We watched on, and when Dr. King had his speech in Washington, he had a niece that lived in Washington, and she sent us his speech. And so we still have it.
A month after that, sometime in September, in 1963, the bombing of 16th Street Church took place. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What do you remember about that day? Do you remember the actual bombing and what was happening? What was happening in Birmingham as a result of that?
Well, really, everything was kind of just really, it really was shocking, and it was a terrible experience for us because across the street was our neighbor, Mr. Pippins. Mr. Pippins, his picture was on, this was his niece, that was killed. And it was that he had a social cleaners right across from 16th Street and all of this. So it was just, it was just really strange and upsetting and frightening, really, because you didn't know what was gonna happen next. And so that kind of like kept you wondering what is going on. And it was just a sad day for everybody.
You were teaching in Shelby County. Were there questions by children out there?
No, everybody was just quiet. They wouldn't ask you or wouldn't say wouldn't say too much to you about anything, because I guess they felt like, well, we don't know how you're feeling about it. And then I don't know, it was just kind of like a thing that was just going on, and everybody trying to make it on life. Is just strange now, and what's going on, and I think this is what they what happened last night. Well, how did they do that? Children were very inquisitive about things that they didn't know, kind of like what was going on, because it's a little bit removed from them since they were there, but they could, on television and things. And then, I don't know, you really kind of like didn't talk about it too much to them, because I really didn't want to frighten them.
But your coworkers usually just simply wouldn't raise any
questions
questions.
about it. They didn't do too much talking about it.
Were there others from Birmingham, other coworkers with you that lived in Birmingham?
That was working now, yes.
And were they involved?
Well, yes, very much involved. One of my coworkers was Carlton Reese, and he was responsible for setting up the choir, the song, the choir for the march.
Christian movement, yes.
Right.
And actually, Carlton wrote a lot of the songs.
Right. Very much so. Now we would talk about things and all, but and then it was really touch and go there.
If I had to ask you, how successful was the movement in terms of change in Birmingham, what would you say?
I think it was very successful, because I really believe if it hadn't been for the movement, things would have never changed. It was still status quo, because a lot of people will say that they felt like, since you didn't say anything, this is how you wanted things to remain. And until the movement, it would have been still the same.
Did you attend the mass meetings every Monday night
Just about.
during that
just
period
right.
when the demonstration?
Right.
Who were some of the people, some of the national celebrities that you saw when you were there? Did you ever hear Dr. King?
Yes, and we heard Dr. King and Abernathy and Sherwood.
When you, many times, as I talk to students around, they always ask, did you really sit in the back of the bus? Did you really go upstairs at the lyric to the balcony?
Yes.
It's hard to remember. Hard to believe that that's what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Your children, I know they didn't remember sitting in the back of the bus. Did they, although they were there, they were too young to understand what was going on. What kind of questions did they raise about the period?
I remember one time we were downtown, and they wanted something to eat. And I told them, well, we can't eat up here. We have to go back down on 4th Avenue to eat. And Jerome, why can't we go in here and eat? They wanted to go up on 20th Street to eat. When I told her, I just said, oh, we just don't want to go in there and eat. we'll go down here and eat.
Mm.
So that, they never really knew, but they knew that I wanna go in here. Why can't we go to this movie? And why can't we go in this movie? And we can't go to this movie, we have to go back on 4th Avenue and go, why do we have to go back on that? I wanna see this movie. And you kinda like smoothed it over the very best that you could, trying, so they wouldn't be so hurt. And then they would run up to the fountain to drink water, and they're saying, white only. Well, why can't I drink here? You know, so, it was really, unless you have really lived that life, you really don't know, especially when you have your children with you and they wanna do these things, and yet you have to explain to them in some way why they can't, do whatever it is that they wanna do.
Mr. Summerville, were there ever any difficulties on your job as related to race and promotions and that kind of thing?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yes, sir. You be working on one job for years and years and never get a promotion. You also would have to get we would call the dirtiest job, that's what they promote it. Now and then, well, you might hear some, very few. I guess they had got a little educated more, was in there now and then. But they saw the reflection, what's in your eyes and different things. And they shoot around that. They will always say, well, you see that you can do such and such a thing that you just have to obey. So after everything, we saw some change. We began to move to a lot of electric work and going to different classes. And also they moved to where that you have a little guard there, we had the guard there. It was a change, and it helped us. We also found out that we first started off that, I know I went to the architect school for a year, and they said you have to go to school. I went there for a year, and after then they taken us out to TCI to show us around, about architecture. Then they brought it back to where you going to the class, and I should have went on to the. That's what will get you off. You go to these different classes, you might not even get the job. But some of them did. Some of them were able to move up, and I just quit. I mean, because I said, well, I think it was in me as well. There ain't no need of me going. I ain't gonna be able to move anywhere, drawing or anything.
You were getting the training, but they wouldn't allow you to actually do the job.
That twisted, they would carry you what you couldn't, they would carry you training, but they never let you wire up anything. You had to be careful.
Were there ever any efforts to get a union?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We tried it, and it came down to vote, and everybody wanted it. And when it came down to votes, the white people have the way to get to some blacks. And they got to it, you elected, didn't put it off solid enough. But I thank the big God that, in a way, we had rough that, in a way, you find out that the benefit was better. I would allow to do that, right there, Civico. At that time. Now it's different.
It is different now.
Right, it's different.
You never had a union though. You never got a union.
Never.
And you were saying that you think the reason is because there were people who wanted it, but eventually they would be coerced into doing what they didn't want by the company.
By some of the company leaders. That's what would happen. Well, matter of fact, some of the, which was leaders, Al was trying to get the union, they got to some of them too well, but you know, they give me a better job. Maybe I'm getting a little bit more money on different things. And so, well, we saw that, and so we never did get it.
That's very interesting because I often wonder what relationship did workers have with getting their grievances taken care of, particularly during the time when the movement was ongoing. Did the movement have any positive or negative impact upon what was happening on the job at the time?
No, some parts of your part there, but you had, I have to give it to somewhat, they were kind of understanding. They wouldn't bring a whole lot of different things that get you upset, because you know when you get back that end, when you start getting a lot of black upset, they would pull closer most together. And they kind of skipped around it. That's the way I saw it, and then they started giving you a little bit more opportunity to do the things.
Ms. Summerville, if you had to do all over again, would you do it?
I would,
Any differently?
I think I would work harder with it, or maybe, put more out, and try to get involved even more so. If I had to do it all over again, I would push harder now, because I know now that if you don't, you will never get anything done. Right, and so if the movement came, you know, if I had to do it all over again, I would work harder than what I was doing when the movement was before.
Were you involved at all in any way before the '63 demonstrations? There was, I know that in 1960 there was sit-ins in all over the South, and then in 1961 the Freedom Riders came through, and I'm pretty sure you heard of those. At '62 there was a selective buying campaign where black people decided not to buy now.
Now we were involved in that because the girls wore the same dresses for Easter. It was during that time, and the men were wearing overalls and the girls wore their same dresses that they had Easter before. We refused to buy, yes. And I always mention that, if we need to do this all the time, we'll get out of debt. Because it really would you wasn't spending any money, because everybody then was wearing the same thing, and so nobody was getting anything new, and it really was nice. Yeah, we were involved in that.
What do you think was the most important thing that happened, either to you personally, the family, or overall, as a result of the movement?
Okay. First of all, I would like to say as buying power. It was a certain era that you couldn't go in. Then there was a certain amount of money that you could borrow this labor to buy whatever you want. And when the movement came, that gave you the opportunity to go to these places. And it gave you an opportunity of buying power. And it also gave you the opportunity to a lot of the kids to get different shots. That's what impressed me more, because we couldn't even do these things. We couldn't even go to a park. See, we had a different park that we could go. And then you look around, you saw different equipment in those parks that we had. And I think that empowered us a lot. It empowered us because that we were a tax-paying citizen, that these different things that we couldn't go to. And different things that we couldn't do. Different things that we couldn't be comfortable just riding up and down the street, different things. Always parking something here because something said never pull that car back up out the way and all that. That's empowering you to do these things. Especially to have your understanding that where you want to go and where you want to see your brother and sister go.
So how would you compare the movement then and the movement now?
Well, really, the movement now is that, we kind of, it's not as outgoing as it was then. And maybe, it's not, sometimes I wonder if it has the same effect of, even though we were supposed to be, what you say, more civilized and not doing the things that we were doing then, but we got results a little bit differently then and we are doing now. So, but it has made a difference, in some spots, because it did open up opportunities. And now that you're in the opportunity, maybe you can do a little bit better with it. And you might not have to go out on the streets to walk, but you can be just as forceful on the inside once you are, are there. And I think, we're gonna have to keep working, even with the Million Man March, things we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to keep working at doing things, even though we might not be out on the street marching or whatever. Because if we stop fighting for what we know is right, and then we will never get anything done. We have to continuously keep working at it.
Some people would say now that we don't sit in the back of the bus anymore. We can go to the hotels downtown. We can eat any place we want. That the movement really, there's really no need for a movement now. How would you react to that?
Well, I had to react for that for different. Reading when I'm saying that, see, we as people I have to say this, as black people, and also black men. And that's just where I have to start, from black men, and also we have people. We don't have the respect for each other no more. We don't have the love and the care for each other no more. And especially men, we don't even have respect for our ladies no more. What I'm saying here, how we fell asleep, or how we committed ourselves to something else, to material things, don't even come together for not anything that would be a good purpose in our lives. We feel like now, I have what I want, but I never look at the consequences of what's in front of me. We losing out more now staying at home, staying in the street, either staying at home, even go to church to associate together and see whether we can move from here and be strong. When you found that when men come together and also their family come together, and also the church and the school come together, you see a difference in your community, you see a difference in your school, you see a difference in your public life when we come together and make a stand. But now we done kind of got distant from each other. And this is the way I'm thinking about it. Right. And sometimes we feel, say, well, I have mine. I got a good job. What needed me coming together now, because I got a good job that I'm making. And they now think about that all these material things is where it is putting us farther back, because we are reaching for it. Because we got our children reaching for things that they can do without. And we don't have time enough to come together as a family to even say a prayer or grace at the table where our family could be together and build together. We don't have love between each other, husband and wife now, to make these things strong. And that's the way I'm feeling about it.
Has the society changed that much?
Yes, it has. Because we are more into material things. I have got to have this, I have got to have that. And I have now, in order to have that, I gotta work 2, 3 jobs in order to get it done. And so therefore, things just, in other words, that's how they working on us, keeping things out of our reach. And where things are out of our reach and we're trying to reach them, then we're leaving something behind. And that's our families. Our children are suffering from it. We wouldn't have all this chaos, I believe, in our neighborhoods and in our families if we took time and had a relationship with them where it would make an impact on their lives.
We've covered an awful lot of territory, and you've been great because you filled in a lot of gaps, particularly where we talked about you as a family going out and marching and showing your children that this is necessary. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we conclude?
Well, I have enjoyed the interview, and I hope it, will make an impact on somebody's life when they see it. That we have been together for over 40 years, and we're still, and we're still joyful and faithful and having fun together because we do things together, and that's what it's going to take, working together to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. And it's going to have to start at home first, then church, and then school. And so in order to do that, we won't have to have all this chaos in our lives, in our community.
Well, I feel, I have to say, I thank the Lord that it's two people. Matter of fact, it was some love between them. And it brought us together as a family. We can look around and see where we came from. I know where I came from. I know what I have. And I know that she have helped me through life. She have made me realize that the thing that we can do. And it made me realize that I have to take a stand that after I am a husband to do things. She do things I feel like sometimes that I should be doing, but she wants to do it. And she looked out for the family. She had love and care for the children. And I thank to God that as I look, I hope that the children also, we as people can look and see it's not where I'm going, but how I'm going to get there. Think about whatever you get in life, or whatever that you do in life, how much are you coming that if it wasn't for God that gave you a knowledge enough to look into that and take what you have and use it to your knowledge and use to help somebody else. And you find yourself moving to a higher ground. Now this is what I'm thinking about. You find yourself with a happy married life. Don't take on all mode. Don't ever tell your wife this is yours over here and this is mine. We together.
So you're saying that the family is the center.
It's the center. It's the center. It's the center of your life. And also, I'm gonna say this: always have a blessing with your family. Where you can sit down, you can talk. Let them communicate with you. Let them ask questions. You ask them questions. And also, let them help show a prayer help now and then what's in your life that what you do. See, I didn't have all that at home enough, but I had a wife. When I was there, she would say, honey, this happened between the children. You go and soon do this, and I sit down and I talk to her. It's always, she can do more in some things, and I can do more within the children's life. Try to get back within a family. When you get a family at home, you got a family next door, if you can. When you got a family next door, you got a family in your neighborhood. That's what makes life ticks, and that's what makes you enjoy your life. You always got somebody you can talk. You might be stressed. I might not consent things to her. But I got a friend, I got a neighbor, somebody we can come and talk about some things that can help her. I think we done got away from that too.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Summerville, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule, and you've been quite helpful. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.